You're listening to Commander's Demand with your host, Sports PSP, exclusively on the GRYD Network.
Hey, what's up, folks? It's your boy Sports PSP. Welcome to another episode of Commander's Demand. It's a podcast in which I discuss things surrounding the Washington Commanders. First and foremost, I hope everyone's enjoying a fantastic day. I hope everyone is just, enjoying their day, whether friends, family, whatever the case may be. As you all know, folks, the NFL draft is approaching. And to be honest with you, we got to talk about my mock draft and what Washington should do. Folks, I got to be honest. I've never done anything like this before in my life. I've never done a mock draft before in my life. I don't know why. I just don't like doing mock drafts because I just feel like if people find out about my mock draft, I'm just afraid of criticism or criticism or whatever the case may be. But you know what? I'm just going to do it. I don't give a damn anymore. So one of my friends sent me the Pro Football Network mock draft simulator. I tried it out and I got to be honest, it was a lot of fun. Very much fun. And so I played with it. I pretended to be the GM or football president operations for the Washington Commanders. And as you know, Washington, they had the 16th overall pick. Now, most experts, whether Mel Kiper Jr., Todd McShay, others, have Washington either drafting offensive lineman or a defensive player regarding cornerback. And I received a notification from the Cleveland Browns. They wanted me to trade the 16th overall pick. And in return, I would receive pick number 74th. I think that's a third round pick. A 98th overall pick. I think that's fourth round. A fifth round pick. Next year's second round pick, 2024 second round pick, and Nick Chubb. So for the 2023 NFL mock draft, I traded away the first round pick to Cleveland, and Cleveland in return drafted Cam Smith. Now, Washington, we ended up receiving the 47th overall pick, and no surprise, I decided to draft Darnell Washington, the tight end from Georgia. Anyone, just to put context or put it in perspective, anyone who's heard my podcast will tell you how much I have raved, I have endorsed, how I have campaigned for Darnell Washington to be selected by the Washington Commanders. Because I've said it before, and I'll say it again, I just think we need a difference maker at the tight end spot. I like Logan Thomas a lot. I wish him nothing but the best, but I don't trust Logan Thomas going forward as it pertains to career. I think too many times he's had durability issues, and as a result, I can't go with him going forward. That's just me. I said I want Darnell Washington. I think he's a difference maker, 6'6", 260. He's not the fastest dude, but he did ran like a 4.6-ish. So you can't act as if he's slow, but he can block. He's big. He's athletic. He's the type of tight end that we need. And we need somebody on offense to help out our quarterback, whether if it's Sam Howell or Jacoby Brissett. Bottom line, we need a difference maker. And I also want to give credit, I'll give credit again to Ryan. As you know, Ryan, shouts out to him. He does a great job with his podcast on the GRYD. Check it out. And I invited him over on my podcast, and he explained how they need to make a splash. I watched his podcast on Sunday, and he actually has Washington taking Zay Flowers, the wide receiver from Boston College. And I wasn't shocked at all because, again, he mentioned about splash. He mentioned about the type of player that Washington needed instead, type of player that Washington should get. They need to make a splash instead of a need. And I think that's the way for Washington to go. We got to make a splash. And I think Darnell Washington is the type of guy we need for our offense. So I went with Darnell Washington. Then with the 74th overall pick, we drafted the linebacker Drew Sanders from Arkansas. We need depth at the linebacker spot. I think Drew Sanders can come in. Then Washington with the 97th overall pick. Of course, we need to address the offensive line. And we drafted Matthew Bergeron, the offensive tackle from Syracuse. Then with the 98th overall pick, we drafted Zach Evans from Ole Miss. And then with the 118th overall pick, we need cornerback. And I drafted Travius Hodges-Tomlinson, the cornerback from TCU. He is, even though he is 5'7", 178, 180 pounds, he's not the biggest dude in the world. But don't underestimate his size, folks. Don't let that size fool you. That's a misconception. He plays a lot bigger than his size. He plays more like a big physical corner. He makes up for it. And I just love the fact that he could tackle as well. He brings a lot of energy. And also Tomlinson, his last name, he is the nephew of NFL great LaDainian Tomlinson, one of the greatest running backs in NFL history, first ballot Hall of Famer, my favorite running back growing up as a little kid. And I think Travius Hodges-Tomlinson could be a contributor to the team. And it does help that you are with a football great in LaDainian Tomlinson, someone who can help him on or off the field as far as mentorship. So I like that part. Then with the 140th overall pick, we drafted Braden Daniels, the offensive guard from Utah. Of course, we got to beef up, stack up the O-line. And I felt good. I felt actually very good with some of the picks. I'll talk about some of the draft picks. Let's talk about Matthew Bergeron. I'm reading this report here from Ian Cummings from Pro Football Network's Draft Simulator. This is what he said about Matthew Bergeron, the offensive tackle from Syracuse, who's 6'5", 318 pounds. This is what Ian Cummings said. Along with his strength, Bergeron also brings the grip strength to gather and neutralize power rushes. And with his core strength, he assumes control in anchor struggles and redirects defenders out of place. The Syracuse offensive tackle can latch and maintain anchors on the move. Using his anchor and leg drive, he pulls defenders off the line and paves open running lanes. He can also flip his hips to adjust angles. Interesting. And then of Travius Hodges-Tomlinson. Hodges-Tomlinson has a dynamic athletic skill set, but he can't win on physical traits alone because of his lacking size. Thus, the pressure is on the TCU product to maintain consistency from an operational standpoint. Luckily, Hodges-Tomlinson shows promise in this area. He plays with a steely resolve and is not scared of any challenge. He'll go toe-to-toe with 6'6" tight end Austin Stogner because of his competitive mindset, doesn't take any breaks. This also shows up in run defense where Hodges-Tomlinson remains physical when working to disengage blocks, even if he's at constant size disadvantage. So in other words, from what I read from that report from Ian Cummings, despite the fact that he doesn't have great size, 5'7", 178, as I mentioned, he makes up for it with his mentality. And plus, he's in Washington, Ron Rivera, defensive mind. I'm quite sure Washington, there are some things that we can work and tweak out and help as far as with Hodges-Tomlinson. And as I mentioned again, he is the nephew of LaDainian Tomlinson. So I'm quite sure LaDainian Tomlinson has his nephew in his ear. So I feel pretty good as far as with that draft pick. And I feel very good with some of the picks that I made. Like I said before, folks, I'll say it again. I want Darnell Washington. I think him coming to DC, the nation's capital, as a commander would be very beneficial because I just don't trust Logan Thomas's health on the long term. And he's in his 30s. You could probably say, look, you could have drafted a wide receiver. You could have added some depth with the wide receiver pick. But I feel pretty good with the wide receivers that we have with Doxson, McLaurin, Curtis Samuel. I mean, I am kind of concerned with Curtis Samuel as far as with injuries, but I didn't think I didn't think wide receiver was a big need, so I'll be just fine in that regard. My concerns were just with the offensive line, getting a tight end, getting a cornerback. So as far as with my assessment with the draft, I feel very solid as far as with some of the picks that I made. Another player I drafted, I forgot, in the 6th round was Corey Trice Jr., the cornerback from Purdue. Big physical cornerback, listed at 6'3", a little over 200 pounds, 206 to be exact. Reading this report here from Ian Cummings, shows off good explosive capacity when launching into contact situations, has surprising hip fluidity for his size and can turn and run receivers off the line, and able to hinge around and naturally match receivers at stems in off-man coverage. So I feel very solid with some of the picks that we made as far as offensive linemen, tight end, cornerbacks. But I know for a fact this is just my mock draft, folks. Just because I make this mock draft doesn't mean Washington is going to go with it. They're going to draft whoever they want to draft because, again, it's their approach. It's what they want to do. They're probably going to go with Darnell Wright with the 16th overall pick. I wouldn't blame them for drafting Darnell Wright because we definitely need improvement with the offensive line. Then we don't know what they're going to do with the 2nd round pick. Maybe draft a cornerback, maybe draft a tight end or whoever. They probably may not draft a tight end until like day 3. So we got to wait and see, but they got to draft some difference makers. They got to draft some playmakers. It's great to get the things that Washington, but at the same time, we need splash. That's all I'm trying to say. I just think that Washington needs to address things that they need because we can't keep selling for just need picks. We got to make more splash picks. How else are we going to compete in the division against the Eagles, the Giants, the Cowboys? How? We got to do something that stands out. Maybe that sounds unconventional, but we just got to take that approach. That's just me. Reading an article here from Cleveland.com, the Cleveland Browns aren't interested in re-signing Kareem Hunt, who they acquired back in 2019, 2018. He was let go by the Kansas City Chiefs because of the TMZ video of him assaulting a woman. I believe it was at a hotel or some nightclub or whatever the case was. Once the video went out, the Kansas City Chiefs at the time released Kareem Hunt because, according to their statement, Kareem Hunt was not truthful with them. In other words, when they had prior discussions with him about the incident in question, he told them a different story. He, meaning Kareem Hunt, had told the Kansas City Chiefs a different story compared to the video that was released by TMZ. But there's a possibility that Kareem Hunt could actually go to the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm reading the rest of this article here from Fans Nation. Nathaniel Marrero, hope I'm pronouncing the last name right. Hunt, at the age of 27, began his career with the Kansas City Chiefs in 2017 with Eric Bieniemy, the current offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders, who was the running backs coach for the Chiefs. Hunt ran for 1,327 yards and 8 touchdowns in his first year, just finishing behind New Orleans Saints running back Alvin Kamara for NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. And in the year 2018, Hunt ran for 824 yards and 7 touchdowns, on 181 carries in just 11 games. And per reception, he had 14 and a half yards, finishing with 378 yards and 7 touchdown receptions. So Eric Bieniemy, Kareem Hunt, they're familiar with each other. What are my thoughts on that? Kareem Hunt could be a great fit for the Commanders. I mean, he's familiar with Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy is familiar with him. They know the offense. I don't know if Kareem Hunt, I wouldn't pull the trigger if I'm Washington because age decline, he's getting up there in age. Normally when a running back is like 27, 28, that's like a death sentence. So I don't see any point of Kareem Hunt coming back and resembling the player he once was. If you're Washington and if you want to look for a running back to complement Dwayne Haskins, my suggestion is draft a running back. It's easy to find a running back just like that in the draft, whether second, third, fourth, whatever round you can possibly think of, but that's about it. So that's all I'm going to leave on that. And then one last story right here. Unfortunately, I really did not want to talk about this story, but of course, on the Commander's demand, I ain't got no choice. I'm reading an article here from Sierra Jones from Yahoo Sports, Yahoo Entertainment. It's regarding the former Washington player, God rest his soul, Dwayne Haskins. After the death anniversary of the late Dwayne Haskins Jr., his family and lawyer are taking action against those involved. According to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, Dwayne's lawyer filed a lawsuit 1 year after a vehicle tragically hit and killed the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback in Florida. In April 2022, the late NFL player was in the southern state to train with his teammates for their upcoming season. On the morning of April 9th, Dwayne was stranded on the side of the highway and needed to get to a gas station. His wife, I hope I'm pronouncing her first name right, Calabria Haskins, informed a 911 operator. She was initially on the phone with Dwayne before the 24-year-old told her he would call her back once he returned to his car. She became concerned when she didn't hear back from him. At the time, reports shared that a truck fatally struck Dwayne on I-595 in Broward County, but now more details on the incident have emerged in light of the lawsuit. According to Dwayne Haskins' lawyer, Rick Elsey, a former Florida Highway Patrol traffic homicide report revealed the former Ohio State player was only feet away from safely making it to his car when an old dump truck hit and killed him. The truck was going faster than the speed limit, carrying excessive cargo, had brake system problems, and was traveling on low tread tires with separate sidewalls. Press release stated the front left side of the truck, directly in front of where the driver sat behind the steering wheel, reportedly struck Dwayne. When questioned by authorities, the trucker said that he saw the late athlete, quote, ahead of his vehicle in the center lane. The statement acknowledged that several cars on the highway near the truck saw Dwayne and avoid hitting him. It raised the question for Esley as to why others made sure not to hit the 24-year-old, but the truck driver didn't. In the press release, the lawyer also alleged Dwayne might have been, quote, targeted and, quote, drugged in a blackmail and robbery conspiracy attempt. To corroborate his statement, he shared someone stole Dwayne's expensive watch from him before his death. The quote, the filing of this lawsuit is an important step in the process of uncovering the complete truth about this tragedy. The release continued. The civil justice system allows for subpoenas to be issued for critical documents and for sworn testimony to be taken of people who have knowledge about the events leading up to Dwayne's death. And you can read the rest of the full press release. Ian Rappaport just released a statement. So what are my thoughts about the situation with Dwayne Haskins? Look, I don't know what's true or not. If it is true that Dwayne Haskins, according to his attorney, that Dwayne Haskins Jr. was targeted and drugged, and this was orchestrated, then something should happen. there should be serious consequences. If it is true, if what the lawyer is alleging what is true. I don't know. I gotta wait and hear for further facts, further evidence. All I can really say, honestly, is, hearts and condolences just go out to the family and friends of Dwayne Haskins. It's a tragedy that his life was cut short at the age of 24. He had so much to look forward to, as far as his career, everything else is concerned. Gone way too soon at the age of 24. Again, I still need to hear more facts. I still need to hear further evidence, before I want to make my judgment. But again, still at the end of the day, hearts and condolences just go out to the family and friends of Dwayne Haskins. That's all I'm going to leave it at. And that's all I'm going to say regarding that matter. That's all I'm going to leave it at. Other than that, folks, thank you all for coming on the Commanders Demand podcast. I really appreciate it. It's your boy Sports PSP. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. And usual, folks, God bless.